Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dream Leapers. I'm your host, Harriette Cole. Can you believe it is the end of the year? We have reached this point. It is that turning point that we look forward to. We have lots of feelings about as the year comes to an end. What have we accomplished? Who are we today? How do we stand in the fullness of ourselves today? There's so many thoughts, and I thought to have a guest who is who is in alignment with thinking about this and deeply spending time with himself as well as others, kind of contemplating how we live and what it means. Let me tell you about our guest today. He is Reverend Dr. Gary M. Speers. He's an educator, community leader, reverend, and author of the new book, Life After Woodlawn, a faith journey powered by God 50 years later. Born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, Dr. Speers is a proud graduate of Woodlawn High School. He's going to tell us about this in case you don't know about it, whose life's work has been rooted in education, faith, and service. He has spent decades shaping young lives as a principal, a counselor, and a school administrator, while also serving his community as a pastor, city councilman, and board of education member. In Life After Woodlawn, his book, Dr. Speers reflects on resilience, purpose, and the enduring power of faith to guide life beyond our formative years. He also writes candidly about navigating profound grief after the loss of his wife, sharing how faith, purpose, and service carried him through one of life's most difficult seasons. We're going to be speaking with Dr. Speers about his personal and professional growth as an educator and reverend, his deep dedication to supporting and uplifting young people, and a humble encounter with Muhammad Ali. Please join me in welcoming Reverend Dr. Gary M. Speers to Dream Leapers.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
I was wondering who you were talking about. I had to think about it for a second. My goodness.
When it gets all put together, it sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
My goodness. You know, Harriet, that's in keeping with just doing something consistently. Just in the olden days, it said just roll your hoe. Just hold your row. You know, just do it. And one day you look up and you look back and say, oh my goodness, okay, this is what I've been doing. So it just kind of all comes together. Just like that. Thank you so much. Let me just say this. It is a joy and a privilege to be with you this morning, Ms. Cole. Several years ago, my niece was telling me about Dream Leapers, and I'm saying, what? You know, and here I am today, finding myself talking to Harriette Cole. My goodness. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. One more time. Yeah.
That's it. And, you know, for folks who don't know, Reverend Speers' niece works with me. She's our graphic designer and producer for Dream Leapers, Fallon McQueen. She works wonders behind the scenes, and she often comes to us to say, oh, I have somebody we should consider as a guest. And every single time it's been somebody who we absolutely want to have. So you are in a lovely line of the right people that your niece has brought to the Dream Leapers platform. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cole. But this broadcast is still in its early stages. So let's just see how it turns out. So, yeah.
We wait. Have faith. Have faith.
Yes. That's right.
So your book, Life After Woodlawn, Woodlawn High School, it became famous for this incredible experience that the football team had. And I want you to tell us about it. Yep, there's your book, Life After Woodlawn.
I don't know, maybe the glare or something is on it,
but we will show it in the at different points through the broadcast anyway. So we'll be sure to let people see, for those who can see, because this is also an audio show. Okay. But there's a film that was made about the experience of this football team. And just, I'd like for you to give us some context, because this team became famous during a period of tremendous social unrest. And Alabama is kind of known as the seat of discrimination, of segregation in the United States. And you all were at the center of it. So take us into the experience of being at that high school and and your presence in part of that team?
Well, Harriet, we were just at the right place at the right time. It was a crossroads for our nation, crossroads for Birmingham. We were integrating the schools. Desegregation was all in the air. And so I found myself in 1970 being one of the freshman classes that entered into the school. That school was about a 75-35 mixture of Caucasians and then African Americans. The mixture today is a totally different demographics. But over the last weekend, I was able to get a lady friend of mine that's in our Lions Club. She brought me a 1939 Woodlawn yearbook, and the demographics in that book compared to my book, compared to the book today that will be published at Woodlawn High School, is totally different. And so we just know that there would change. Change was a part, and I've always been on the cutting edge of change. And so when we were coming together at Woodlawn High School, it was a mixture. You're talking about a melting pot or a mixture pot. There were so many things going on in the community, in the city, just coming out of the civil rights era in 1960s. And so, again, just being on the cutting edge of change. Things were happening so fast, Mrs. Cole, that I can remember going downtown with my mom, riding on the bus. One time we were on the back, and the next time we could sit anywhere. I can remember going to F.W. Woolworth's downtown Birmingham, and we had to go downstairs to the basement in order to eat, because it was a restaurant downstairs for minorities, colored people. And we went downstairs, and then the next time we came to town, it almost seems like the next time we came to town, and I was going downstairs. My mom said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going downstairs to the restaurant." She said, "We don't have to go downstairs anymore." So it was just happening just that fast. Right. And to be part of Woodlawn High School, that mixture right there, we had a superstar. The movie, if you ever saw the movie, you said you just saw it, is based out of the book. There were 47 players on this particular team, and 9 of us were African Americans on that team. But we came together, and what brought us together was a Christian ministry by Wells Goebel and Hank Irwin. And if you saw the movie, they came into our gym kind of apprehensive. The coach was apprehensive. At this point, he was desperate. Oh, let's just see. Nothing's happening. And so when we rededicated our life to the Lord, when we repurposed and put focus in why we wanted to do what we wanted to do, we were predicted to win 3 games that year. But as a result of our dedication and recommitment, not only to our teammates and to one another and to the Lord, we won 8 games that particular year. I can remember Tall Paul on Win Radio in Birmingham. Tall Paul was Tall Paul, y'all. That's how he signed on. And he was saying, "What's going on in Woodlawn?" Because things was happening over there. Good things were happening over there at a time when we needed good things to happen. So I was just glad to be a part of that movement. And if you saw the movie, yes, I was a silhouette character way back on the top bleacher right there. I didn't even know the movie had been done until it was being shown. One of my friends says, "Why weren't you in the movie?" I'm saying, "What movie are you talking about?"
Well, it's interesting when you think about those times. You know, we've read about the times, and when you read about what was going on in history versus living it, and also, you know, depending upon where you lived. You know, I'm from the North compared to you. I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, which is, you know, north compared to Alabama. But people, depending upon where you were from and when you were born and what you were taught, it's really kind of hard to understand. Like, laws happen, but then the timing that it takes for these laws to be put into place, for people to follow whatever it is, you know, it's a totally different thing. Desegregation theoretically happened in 1954, you know, but you're talking about 1970. And one of the things that we hear in the movie, I think, was it the governor who said that there will never be any Black people.
Segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes, yes,
And so
yes.
this was a motto in Alabama. And I think about so many of the schools, but Woodlawn being the focus right now, where these are young people who are just trying to get educated. They're being bussed into this neighborhood
Yes.
and their lives are at stake. So I think for people of faith, I think people do understand that having faith can change everything. And
Everything.
still, just the notion that these white ministers came into this school and were able to reach people by sharing the word of God in a way that the white people and the Black people, the young people and the faculty and everybody else were able to rally together and kind of push beyond the
Yes.
racism and the violence and the hatred. That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Well, even at that, Mrs. Cole, our coach had us to be in the team in the moment. We did not get involved in anything that was going on around the team. And I like to say, and I put it in the book, I said it was GPS, it was God's protection service, or God protection spirit, that kept us and shielded us, not just as a football team, but as a young person growing up in Woodlawn during my era, because there were times when marches was going on. Of course, you saw the fire hoses and the dogs and those kinds of things. Yes, I participated in some marches a little later on, but when I probably was still in grammar school when the main marches was going on. In '63, I had just enrolled at Henry Jefferson Oliver School in Birmingham, where I had the opportunity to speak to a group of young students on Tuesday of this week. Man, I'll tell you. So on Tuesday, I was on cloud nine because I got a chance to speak to my elementary school students, the 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. I'm a retired elementary school principal myself.
Yes.
So we just loved it. I had time to have breakfast with the pre-K students and just loved it. And then I left there and went to the high school to talk with seniors who had just taken their end of semester exam. I think they were a little bit on the burnt side. They was not as energetic and receptive as the other students. But yet we had a message, and I wanted to stress to them then, as I do now, we had an educational foundation. I know we have AI, I know we have Chat GTP or whatever it is. Right. But you have to be a critical thinker. You have to prepare yourself for the future. You have to make decisions that's gonna stand, and decisions you can live with, because the future is for those who prepare. And as we prepared ourselves for the days and weeks that we didn't know we were making history. For me, myself, I was just trying to make the team. Okay. So we were just trying to make the team. And it was an exciting time.
What were your parents teaching you during this period? Because to leave your house every day was dangerous. And by the way, it still is dangerous.
It still is dangerous. Yes.
But, as parents, I just think about, especially parents of young Black men, you're sending your young men out into the world. You want them to learn and grow and be strong and be protected. Yes. What were the conversations like in your home with your parents as you were growing up in Alabama during this time?
Love. If I could sum it up, it would be love. Love yourself, love your neighbor, respect, self-respect. Your name is Gary Maurice Speers. If anybody call you anything other than that, they're not talking to you. Okay. Mm-hmm. And just to be able to, let me give you two, for instance. My school I just referenced, Henry Jefferson Oliver School, was about 2, maybe 3 miles away from the bus line. Okay. So in the 4th grade, I used to leave school. A note was given to the superintendent or given to the principal and my teacher, and I could walk through the community, down through the community, up the hill, down the tracks, across 3 sets of tracks, and then cross the busy road on Georgia Road in Woodlawn and catch the bus to Birmingham, to UAB Dental School. That's where I had to go. And It was no problem. I'm telling you, God's hand of protection is around. You got to have faith to know that God's going to see you through. As you referenced earlier, yes, I had a loss a couple of years ago, my wife for 43 years. But in that, I couldn't have a pity party. I wanted to, several times I wanted to. But God spoke to me and said, you need to praise me. You need to praise me. And so as we look to the season of Advent, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, and New Year's, or whatever we celebrate, accustomed to, we need to have faith and hope in mankind and a higher being and a spiritual calling. Yes.
That's it. Hey guys, this is Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. This is the end of 2025, and we are in conversation with Reverend Dr. Gary M. Speers, the author of Life After Woodlawn, a faith journey powered by God 50 years later. Reverend Speers, I'm thinking about your time, because this book is about after you were immersed in this experience. You got to see the power of faith while you were at Woodlawn and being part of that team. And teamwork just in general is something that's so important to learn. When you learn how to be on a team, it helps you to understand how to interact with people.
Life lessons.
Life lessons. As you were graduating from Woodlawn and beginning your life as a young man, what would you say was a key pivotal thing that happened for you that showed you the importance of faith guiding your steps?
I attended Alabama A&M University on an athletic scholarship, but let me back up just a little bit. We had a couple of protest seasons. We were not only known for hitting people hard on the football field and helping them up and saying, Jesus loves you. He has a plan for you, after we done smacked them real good as a tackle. But a couple of times it was necessary to get the attention of the administrators and I guess the faculty at our school, because we didn't feel that we were being heard. We didn't feel that we were being noticed. We didn't feel that people were being fair and equal about certain things. So there were a couple of springtimes that we had a protest of our own. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not going to say where I was in the front of that, but anyhow,
it's 50 years ago. You can say it.
Don't be scared, right? Don't be scared. So the principal at that time, he called one of the people in our neighborhood. The neighborhood that we grew up in that had a lot to do with it, Harriet. You see, the first teachings start at home. Okay, it's good that you go to these institutions, go to these schools, go to these services or these programs, but the first teachings really start at home. And so our community was well-rounded with professionals, blue-collar people who got up every day and went to work and cut the grass and mowed the lawn. We had a nice neighborhood, but one of the individuals that lived in that neighborhood was a gentleman named Mr. Russian. And Mr. Russian was on the biracial team at Woodlawn High School, which meant that if there was something out of whack, then the committee could get together and try to hone it out. Well, because we had walked out of school or made our protest known or whatever, the principal called Mr. Russian. Mr. Russian lived 8 doors down from me, okay? in my own neighborhood. So when the principal called Mr. Russian, and told him what was going on, Mr. Russian's reply was, yes, I know Gary. I think he's an excellent, outstanding young man. So whatever y'all got going on down there, you need to fix it.
Very good.
And it was that really kind of catapulted me to be able to do what you say and say what you do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you give your word of your bond. Later, fast forwarding to being in the ministry, I had an older guy that lived in Hollywood, Alabama, the real Hollywood, by the way.
Okay.
According to the locals in Hollywood, I think the population may be about 1,300, I don't know, 1,400, but anyway, they said
the real Hollywood.
The real Hollywood. So this old preacher, he said, he said, get up, speak up, and shut up and sit down. But he also gave me his word one time. He said he had been ill in November, and we had a program scheduled in February, and he was scheduled to be there. And so I knew he had been ill. I knew he had been ill. And so in February rolled around, and I was getting ready to go for lunch, and I saw him pull up in the car, and I said, Reverend, Word, his name was Wordley Allen. I said, Reverend Allen, why are you here? I said, I understand you've been ill. I know you've been sick and everything. I would understand if you were not able to be here. He said, what? He said, what you talking about? I said, yes, I know you've been ill. He said, Speers, I gave you my word, didn't I? I said, yes, sir. He said, I came after my word. Well, those resonate with me now. I'm about to tear up talking about that kind of stuff. But it's those kinds of examples. He couldn't read, but he could quote the Bible front to back. I need a commentary and everything. He could just, God is so good, you know. Yeah.
You know, when you say this, it's reminding me, I teach a class at FIT, a journalism class now. Mm-hmm. And so semester has just ended. And one of the topics that we explore in journalism is ethics. Yes. We talk about ethics and integrity. And as you're speaking, that's what I'm hearing you talking about, that, you know, your word is everything. What do you value? How do you make decisions in your life? And they need to be based upon your values. And so then do you even know what they are? And I find that a lot of kids aren't having conversations about values right now. Right. You know, like what do I believe in? What do I stand for? What, you know, in this big, crazy world where you could do anything, what do you do? How do you live? And I think that especially now, when there's so many opportunities for people to take any action that they could think of, that they need to have some kind of a moral compass. I know that in church, through the Bible, through all spiritual practices, we're learning how to live an honorable life. But in real time, when you're engaging people who may not be doing the honorable thing, how do you, and you've been a pastor for so long, how do you get people to see when they are making a choice that is not an honorable choice, and to make a different choice?
I don't know, Harriet, but let me say this to you. An old man told me one time, he says, you know how you can tell if a stick is crooked? He said, you put a straight stick by the side of it, you know, just lay it down by the side of it. So the word is what governs me. God's presence is what guides me. God keeps me. Do all you can while you can and give God the praise. That's my marching orders. That's what I believe in. I think having a good set of ethics, a good set of integrity. Let me just share two stories right quick.
Please.
Three stories. Last week, we had to vote on the superintendent for our district. Okay. And it was, and we had to vote, and I had to stand on the integrity that I have, the things that I've done, but I had to go with what I knew to be the right decision for the school system, the students, and my decision. And last night, one of the people that I spoke with, as a matter of fact, he's a young man. He just happened to be Caucasian. He's a businessman. He's very successful. And he called me for a number last night, and I thought I had the number, but I didn't. But he must have ran some interference for me. This is a Caucasian guy. I baptized him when he was young, and he's grown up to be very, very successful. But he said to me last night, he says, yeah, I know you're taking a lot of heat, but I told those individuals, I said, if Speers voted that way, or he made that decision, he knows something, or he's doing the right thing for the best interest of our students, our staff, and our community. This morning, I mean, like an hour or two before you called, I had a lady that used to work with me. I tell you, I'm a retired principal, right? And this lady used to work pre-K, and she reminded me of when I used to come into the classrooms with for some occasion that was going on. I had on a red Superman cape, and I was flying through the air, and the kids just loved it. This past Tuesday, when I was at Oliver, I had the opportunity to have breakfast with the pre-K students, and this is one of the things I did at Brownwood, the best school in town. I would go in there and I says, pre-K partner, good morning, pre-K partners. And they would say, good morning, Dr. Speers. And I said, how are you? And they'll say, fine. And I says, I'm fine too. Have a wonderful day. You know, and it was just so engaging like that. But that lady called me this morning, and she told me that she is now the president of the Lions Club and the president of a library in our area. But she said, I want to tell you something. You were the best principal, if not the best principal that I've ever had. She
Wow.
don't look like me. She don't look like you. But she said, you were the best principal at a time in my life. I was so glad that you were there. And I admire you being a mentor and a great administrator. And
That's
so,
great.
you know, you just do what you got to do. I'm not asking any of your questions, I don't believe, but I'm just.
No, but you're sharing what we need to hear. That's what I'm going to say. What we need to hear is what you're saying. You know,
you can reel me in if you need to.
It's what we're talking about is living with integrity and sharing that with other people by, you know, living by example. And living by example, like they say, it's not what you say, it's what you do. And
That's
how
exactly.
our lives makes all the difference in the world.
How you model it.
How you model it, because there's always somebody looking.
Always.
Yes, there's always somebody looking. I remember I went to a spiritual retreat, and we were in this beautiful meditation. And it was a group of people in leadership in this community, and in the meditation, what we were reflecting on was wherever you are, anywhere in the world, any time of day, wherever you are representing God.
Yes.
And yourself. And how good of a representative are you? If you're somewhere else and you think nobody's looking, how good of a representative are you? Because you're representing no matter what. And it was such a powerful message of, you know, how do you show up? How do you live your life? Do you think that if you're over here somewhere and nobody can see you, that you can do whatever and so-called get away with it? Or are you living with integrity wherever you are? Because you're always being a reflection. Are you a good reflection or not? I thought that this was such a powerful message, Dr. Speers, because people often think they can compartmentalize their lives, you know? And one of the easiest ways we see how that doesn't work with social media. People who go crazy and post things on social media that and then lose their job because you can't act like that and still work here. You know, you can't do that thing over here. And you know, there are consequences to behavior.
It is.
And we need people to understand, what does it mean to live with integrity?
How would you like to be treated? How would you like to be known? How would you like to be remembered? You know, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And as you indicated that you're an instructor and everything, I would dare say that there are some students that just love coming to Miss Cole's class. And then there are some students that she brings the heat, brother. You better check this out, you know. But you know what? When they would tell me that, and I went into that class, I didn't have a problem with them. I don't know what they were doing. They might not have been doing their work, you know. But and I wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed either. I just give God all the praise. It's through discipline. Let me get back to something that you said earlier. When that statement was made in the doors of the University of Alabama many, many years ago, when I was in preparing for my dissertation in 2014, we had to stay in the hotel on campus at the University of Alabama. So I write it in the book. I says, here I teared up. I might tear up now. I says, here I am getting out of the bed of a nice hotel on the campus of the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. How many people laid the foundation? How many people fought, bled, and died. Blood, sweat, and tears were paved the way for me and others, Right. And so we just have to remember from whence we've come. I'm appreciative. I'm grateful. Just like a few years ago, I just heard about Dream Leapers, and today I'm speaking.
And we are together. I love it. I love it. So let me remind folks, we are on Dream Leapers. Here we are, WBAI, and all the other places where we show ourselves. We are talking with Reverend Dr. Gary M. Speers. He is the author of Life After Woodlawn, a faith journey powered by God 50 years later. And we're talking about everything right now, talking about integrity, which is perhaps the most number one thing for folks to be thinking about. I wanted to tell you, Dr. Speers, I've been getting letters from my students because class is over. And I want to tell you about two of them that I think you will appreciate.
Please.
One comes from a young man who never missed class, participated fully, and was so overstretched that he almost failed the class because he missed many assignments. And I figured out how smart he was at a certain point. And I'm like, no, you owe it to yourself. You got to show up for yourself. And we would have conversations like this. And he sent me a beautiful note thanking me for caring about him and for pushing him and for seeing him, yes. And then I got another note today from a young woman. This is her first year in college. And she said she learned how to be herself being in my class. This is a journalism class, but I know my calling is to help people access their greatness within and to express it wherever I am. Yeah. And so to see that happening with these students, even the young man who almost failed the class, it's not always about that is not always the assignment, right? Sometimes the assignment is something else.
Oh, Harriet, let me tell you something. Attendance, 2 stories, quick.
Yeah.
When I was in the 5th grade, and I told this story to the elementary school students too. I didn't really have to. Well, like I said, the high schools had just finished their semester exam. They were hurt. They were done. Just stick a fork in them. They were done. So I just tried to make it as interesting as I could. But I told those 5th graders, those 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, I says, when I was in the 5th grade, I got smart one time, and I figured I would just shoot hooky from school one day. It was probably February. My mom was a single parent mom, and I just thought I could do whatever the heck I wanted to do. So this particular day, I didn't go to school, and I had the 35 cents that she gave me for lunch. She was a nurse, so she had to be at work early, so I was on my own. So when lunchtime rolled around, I went up the street. There was a man named Reverend Wynn. He had a little store up the street, maybe like 5 or 6 houses down the road. And you could go there, get sodas, cookies, candy, bubble gum, Baby Ruths, or whatever. All right. So I went there. And as I was passing by about the 4th house before I got to Reverend Wynn, Mr. Eddie was sitting on the porch. And so he said, "Hey, Gary, how you doing?" I says, "I'm doing all right." He said, "Why are you in school?" I said, "Well, my mama going to take me to town and buy me some shoes." Said, "Okay." And so I went on up to Reverend Wynn. I bought my little snack, and Mr. Eddie wasn't on the porch when I came back by, I don't think. So I got back to the house, and I ate my little snack, and boy, I'll tell you what, I'm thinking, I got this. So I'm looking at the clock. I'm thinking, okay, Mama will be home in a little bit. I need to act like I've been to school. So she came and said, "Hey, young man, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good." She said, "I'm going to get dinner ready." I said, "Okay." And I closed the door, and I said, "Yes, I got it." So about 10 minutes later, I heard him. You know who it was? Mr. Eddie.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah.
Eddie, I heard my mom and Mr. Eddie talking at the front door, and all I heard was say, "Oh, he did he?" And then she came in there. She said, "Let me go turn the skillet off in the kitchen." And so she asked me, she said, "Young man, did you go to school today?" I didn't lie. I said, "No, ma'am, I did." She said, "Take your clothes off." Aaron, I told the kids at Oliver, I says, "I got the best whooping. you could ever get.
And you remember
I
it.
was perfect attendance 2 years straight, and a couple of perfect attendance in high school. But I said that to say this. Also, I hit academic probation at A&M my first year because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And it's not so much of how smart you are, it's how are you smart, you know? And
Yes,
so
indeed.
yeah. My wife shared that with me. She said, it's not how smart you are, it's how are you smart. And so that's why I wanted to share with those students about the STEM programs, the science, technology, engineering, and math, and beyond. We used to say the sky's the limit, but now you can go beyond the sky. You can go past the sky now,
That
and
is
that's
so
for people who prepare. But how are you smart? And we
Yeah,
all have our gifts.
That's a great question. So I want to turn the page now because you've mentioned something I'd like to go into a little bit more. And here's the setup of as we're talking about grief. So I've got 2 entry points to this. Learning that you were married for 43 years before your wife passed away. My parents were married 42 years before my father passed away.
Yes.
And I mean, what a long, full life together. But the loss is something that, it's hard to compute. But my father passed away. Now it's been 26 years. My mother passed away in May of this year.
My Lord. Oh, it's fresh.
At age 95.
95. Praise
95.
the Lord.
So she had a beautiful life. We had her 25 years after my father passed away.
Wow.
But it's not only rough for me. Yeah. My friends are calling, how are you? This is going to be your first Christmas without your mother. It was your first Thanksgiving. Like people, I wasn't even being in that space. My mother was such a joyful person. We've been focusing on the joy. Yeah. And my friends who loved her too are like, how are you doing? Because your mom's gone, this is the first time. So many people are impacted by great people who pass on. And you open your book with the story of trying to resuscitate your wife in church, that she fell out in church and ended up leaving planet, but in a perfect place, being in church. You couldn't ask for a better place to leave if you have to go, and we all have to go. But you were married 43 years. It says 2 years, as you said, of That's still new.
It don't equal out.
It's fresh.
Listen, there was a program that's called griefshare.org. Griefshare.org. They helped me tremendously, but my help came from the Lord, because as pastor, as a man of God, as a man of faith, you says, okay, the Lord is on your side. He's going to see you through. And you can't even go into church. You can't even have Bible study. You can't even preach because of grief or sorrow. I told you earlier, I said, I was going to have a pity party, and God told me, he says, you put your faith, you put your joy in me. You put your joy in me. Now, do we have grief ambushes? There's something called a grief ambush. It might be a sound, it might be a sight, it might be a smell, it might be a taste, whatever it is, and you gonna cry.
Yep.
You gonna lose it. And yesterday, I put earlier in the month during the season for Christmas, I put a permanent set of Christmas arrangements, with the floral and all like that. But yesterday I put fresh roses at the gravesite, and I was doing pretty good during the high point of the day. But as the sun began to set, I kind of got in a melancholy kind of frame of mind. But that was yesterday. That was the other day, and today is a brand new day. And so that's what we have to look for: a brand new day. Every day is a new opportunity. So every day when I get up, I'm saying, thank you, Lord, for another wonderful, exciting, victorious new day. And that's how we have to live victorious, because we can't make it without them. I'll tell you, I was signing the books the other day on Saturday, and the lady says, she was a friend of my wife. She says, how do you make it? Because she had lost a child at the age of 3, about 25, 30 years ago. And I can tell it still weighs on her and those kinds of things. And I told her, I says, I couldn't make it without the Lord. I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. And my wife would tell me, she says, I talked about this book so much, Harry. She said, hush, just write the book already. Just do it. And shut up.
Well, you know, it's interesting. And I'm glad you mentioned getting the support from a grief organization, because faith is so important. And sometimes you need professional help to, you know, that's like the faith and self-effort, what the effort that you put forth and the support that you get in order to go through whatever that is. And a lot of people do not think that they need professional help. A lot of people say, oh, I don't believe in therapy. I don't believe in grief counseling. But I think it's quite valuable. Can you speak about that?
I think it's very valuable. Listen, your friends love you, your relatives love you, your neighbor love you. They want to help you, but you got to help yourself. And so I knew, for me, I needed more. Again, how can I tell people to trust in God and I'm drunk every day because I can't deal with the pain or deal with the stressors of life, you know, or just out of reality. When God is our creator. My wife went back to be with her creator. Your mom went back to be with her creator. Your dad went back to be with his creator. And so he has the author, he has the ownership, he has the owner's manual, he knows the ins and outs and do's and don'ts, and he knows how much we can bear. And so your mom stayed here as long as she could.
Sure
and I want to just do a shout out to my mom, and she's with us right now, and I give God all the praise, and she's tough. She's a quiet warrior. You know what I'm saying? And she's faithful. Golly, I was just telling somebody the other day, she is so faithful. I'm like, I would be all like, woo, and she's just, okay.
Yeah, well, and it makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference. One of my friends, that's not in the front of the book, but near the very end, actually it's in chapter 7, one of the first entries in my minister's report, and it's Sister Georgia Seals. Georgia Seals lived to be 110 years old.
Wow.
When she died, we thought she was 100, but in doing the investigation and getting all the documentation and everything, she was 110 years old. Quick story, 1 minute, 2 minutes. So when I was a young pastor, I would help pass out box fans during the summertime so people could have air conditioner or air flowing through the house. So after a summer or two, Miss Georgia says she wanted a window air conditioner. So I was on the road working in nuclear power at the time. So the other young minister, he was there to help her. And so when he went to help her, he took her to J.C. Penney's to get a window fan, a window air conditioner. So when they went, she found the air conditioner she wanted, and she got to the checkout counter, and she was going to write a check. And so she was going to write a check. And so the lady says, well, ma'am, we need some ID. And so she went in her purse and she got the ID card. And as she handed the card to James, James looked at it and he saw the card and he looked at it. He said, Miss Seals, this wrong. This wrong, Miss Seals. This can't be right. And Miss Seals said, what? You know, she's 100 and whatever she was at the time. She said, what are you talking about? He said, this thing says that you was born in 1895. And she said, that's right. I was born in 1895. He said, Miss Sears, you old. And Miss Sears said, hey, Harriet. Miss Sears said, well, does this mean I can't get the air conditioner?
I love it. That's a perfect story.
And your people love you, but you got to have faith and trust in God. My goodness, I have some ups and I have some downs, but through it all, my ups certainly outweigh my good times outweigh my bad times. Am I perfect? No. Are you? No. Does anybody know? No. But we give God all the praise and thank him for things being as well as they are.
Hey guys, we have just a few more minutes of this wonderful conversation. So you're tuned into Dream Leapers with Harriette Cole. We are talking with Reverend Dr. Gary M. Speers. He is the author of the new book, Life After Woodlawn, a faith journey powered by God 50 years later. When that film was made, what did you think about that? That Woodlawn was that the story was turned into a film?
Before Woodlawn was made, there was a movie that had preceded it called Return of the Titans. Remembering the Titans. Remember the Titans. And Denzel Washington was the head coach.
That's the same story, isn't it?
Remember. I think it was Remembering the Titans.
Yes. Remember the Titans. That's what it's called.
Yeah. So I told my wife in watching that movie, I turned to her and said, Kim, that is uncanny. The similarities that this school had and our school, because they were mixing together. They were blending. It was a lot of, but at the end of the day, they were a team, and at the end of the day, we were a team. Mr. Nathan went on to play football at the University of Alabama as a star running back, and he was an outstanding player with Woodlawn, and then he later went to the pros and played as well. But yeah, that was a very, very stunning. Harriette, how much time do we have?
About 3 minutes.
All right. Here's something, and it's dedicated to my friend Willie Dale. Willie is he's with us, but he's in care. One of the funny stories I want to remember as a freshman was Coach Rex Thornton and Coach Monk Mosley. We were going through the fundamental of drill. They were passing out equipment, and that equipment must have been from World War II. It was so bad, I didn't even know which way to put the shoulder pads on because it was a second and third head generation. I'm paraphrasing a little bit because I know we got a short time. And then as we went on, that later on that day, I knocked my shoulder out of place. It was a Friday. I knew it was a Friday because Mama was frying fish in the kitchen. Her comment was, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, which meant that every time you get a little bruise or get hurt, don't come running to me, even though she was a nurse. That next day, she found out that my shoulder was knocked out of place. She said, oh, baby, I'm so sorry. But my dad had taken me to the emergency room. In other words, that's what she was talking about, because I used to always keep my room full of Bengay cream, atomic bomb, and liniment all the time. Before this incident occurred, though, Coach Rex Thornton called me to the front of the bleed. He called me out. It's like everybody that was freshmen trying to make the team or getting equipment to make the team. He said these words, and it just brings laughter to my spirit right now, even as I think about it. He was a big, tall, strong, muscular guy, had a southern drawl, but it was quick and snappy as he was spitting Red Man chewing tobacco into a cup, which was pretty often, like every 30 to 40 seconds or so, a couple of minutes or so. He said, Speers. He spat in the cup. He said, boy, I was as big as you. Spit in the cup. I would stand on the corner and charge people to live. Oh man, when he said that, laughter erupted through the stands. My friends Willie Dale, Manuel Jones, Albert Benfield, and Roger Watson, all of us, and they kid me for that now. Willie would sometimes act like Coach Thornton, and whether we was in the lunchroom or the classroom or wherever we were, in the locker room, he would always spare us. Boy, if I was as big as you, I'll stand on the corner and charge people to live. Boy, I tell you what, it makes
I love it. Oh, I'm so glad you read a little bit from the book. It is a good read. You are a great storyteller. And, this is proof. Your memoir is proof of a life well lived, that you have lived in faith. You have lived with honor. And, you've lived a life of service. All those jobs that we learned that you've had, they've all been jobs in service to help people to have a better life. So we thank you for all that you have done. And in the final seconds that we have, one piece of advice would you give to folks as they go into the new year?
It's not anything new, but it's do all you can. When opportunity avails itself, seize the moment. Do all you can while you can and give God the praise. It's just as simple as that. For me, that works for me. And I just think as we look forward, as you said, as we close out 2025, we got to remember that this is what the last month of coming to the end of this year, that it was God that brought us from all the way in to where we are right now. That's right. When I woke up this morning, I didn't have no doubt because I knew the Lord would bring me out, and he's going to bring us out. He's going to bring us through. There's going to be blessings. There's going to be abundance. There's going to be healing, going to be miracles, signs and wonders that we wait to receive. And not just, the best is yet to come. The best is yet to come. And let us not forget the reason for the season.
Thank you. It's been a delight to talk to you. Congratulations on your book. And, you know, continue spreading the joy that just is emanating from you. It's really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mrs. Cole, thank you for what you do, not only today, but what you've done in the past. And the best is yet to come.
I love that. Thank you. And thank all of you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed our guest as much as I did. Reverend Dr. Gary M. Speers, author of Life After Woodlawn, A Faith Journey Powered by God 50 Years Later. It's a history lesson as well as lots of other things. It's an incredible story of faith. Great read. Thank you to all of you. Happy New Year. Be connected to that greatness within. Have faith. And we'll see you in the new year. Until then, have a great day and make it count.